The Flying Huskies have been on a little bit of a North American kick to finish off this season, moving from Montreal to Mosport to Lime Rock in Connecticut as of late. Tonight, the gang ends the season on the Finger Lakes' finest racetrack, Watkins Glen. Welcome to round 11 of Flying Husky Racing here on the Global SimRacing channel. Hi, I'm Joey Tevin. I'll be your DJ for this evening, and with me in the booth is Reese Gardner. Behind the scenes is our director, Joe Peak, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Watkins Glen is one of the most popular tracks on iRacing, but let's see if we can Watkins glean anything new from our GSRC track guide.
Welcome to Watkins Glen International. Situated in upstate New York, just south of the Finger Lakes, this track has seen it all. Few road circuits can boast hosting Formula One, IndyCar, NASCAR, and IMSA during its history. Though it did have a brief fallow period in the early 80s, thanks to the investment of local companies, it's grown into one of the premier road tracks in the U.S. With 4 layouts to choose from that range between 2.5 and 3.5 miles in length, lap times can vary greatly. But it also means it's suitable for lots of different levels of racing, from amateur to pro. The one thing that stays consistent no matter which car and which layout you're using is that Watkins Glen means speed. Many of the straights are very long, and the majority of the corners are fast sweepers. Some of them include a surprising amount of banking as well. Combine that with the proximity of the barriers, and this historic circuit retains a very old-school feel. Drivers in lesser-powered cars can expect drafting battles, while higher-powered machinery will test the skill and bravery of their pilots. Some of the turns are visually iconic, such as the carousel and the S's. Others, like the inner loop, the chute, and Turn 9, greatly challenge even the expertly skilled. And of course, we haven't even mentioned the drastic amount of elevation change drivers experience. Between its rich history and popularity among drivers, this track stays busy and seems likely to be that way for a long, long time.
And that was our GSRC track guide for Watkins Glen International. You got to get the international in there. It's a little bit of an international field in here tonight. Quite a few Canadians and quite a few Northwestern and Western American drivers. But here's the track map for Watkins Glen. Looks a little bit different from maybe some layouts we usually run in iRacing. Reese, what's going on here?
We are running the classic boot layout, which means the bus stop on the back stretch is not being used. That basically means a prime drafting opportunity into the carousel. And of course, we've got that boot section with many fast hairpin type turns all around there with plenty of camber to deal with. So we're going to be seeing some great passes around here. And with a 25-minute race, not going to be many laps around here to get it done.
As we navigate through qualifying here, we'd like to thank the sponsors that have allowed us to run the whole of this Flying Husky Racing season and, of course, the final race. Let's thank Norsled. Norsled is a non-profit animal welfare organization dedicated to rescuing, rehabilitating, and finding homes for unwanted, abandoned, and abused husky dogs. Today, every Flying Husky Racing track day or car event benefits Norsled, with a portion of the proceeds donated to them. Even if you can't adopt, you can still help and ensure care for these amazing animals through your support. Save a Husky. For more information, contact Todd Curtis through email at todd@flyinghusky.racing.
It's also brought to you by Flying Husky Racing themselves. Flying Husky Racing is a car club based in the Pacific Northwest that delivers premium track days and car events for automotive enthusiasts. FHR is dedicated to safety, development, and building community among members and participants. Find out more on the web at flyinghusky.racing. Flying Husky Racing, track days are the best days.
Track days are indeed the best days, but some of our drivers have had better track days than others, and 2 of them have just been dominating the season at the top of the point standings. We've got a little bit of a championship battle here, don't we?
Yeah, we absolutely do. Michael Broomhead leading by just 1 point over Andrew Hardman, who has been on a great charge in the second half of the season. Broomhead dominating the opening rounds and coming back for another good one at Lime Rock, but in between he had a couple of races where he did not get the results he needed. Some spins, one of them notably at Spa-Francorchamps. So basically the situation here, Joey, is whoever finishes ahead out of Broomhead and Hardman takes the championship.
And what do you know? Both of them 1 and 2 in qualifying at the moment. Nicholas Collender in third place in the championship as well. He's not in there. Not enough points for him to score in the race today. Fixed setup race, 25 minutes of racing. You do get a faster pair, so maybe if Hardman and Broomhead come together in a little bit of a fierce championship battle, they might both have to come back in the pits and get that faster pair. But other than that, pretty self-explanatory. Got a couple minutes left in qualifying, and as I said, it's Hardman on top by about 2.5 tenths over Broomhead.
Indeed it is, and we follow him around at the moment, coming into the heel of the boot. Very challenging corner that, and it's a place where you'll undoubtedly see passing today. You can say that for just about every corner here at Watkins Glen. It's a fast circuit, it's got heavy braking zones, and these turns are nice and wide, so plenty of room for racing action. Coming up to the final turn as well, which is critical to get right for the run onto the start-finish straight. It's so difficult to hook up the apex through there, but it looks like Andrew Hardman's done well at that point, and he is into the 1 minute 36s on lap times, a new fastest lap then in the qualifying session. Broomhead's got a little bit of extra work to do.
But I tell you what Broomhead might have. He might have a little bit of a draft. We can ride on board with him. He's got a car in front of him. Got to figure out who that is. That is Calvin Lee. So Broomhead might be getting a little bit of help down this long straight here. That's another thing about this track. We've got no bus stops, so the straight is even longer than it would normally be. And sometimes, especially with these F3 cars and with small open wheel cars, it can make this a little bit of a sort of a road course pack race.
Yeah, exactly. In the V8 Scops series that I commentate over on SimSpeed TV, we often call our Watkins Glen round the oval round because it's very it lends itself quite well, I should say, to drafting and pack racing. Of course, these guys have a bit more distance to cover with the classic boot layout, but certainly you're going to be seeing some packs here today on that back straight, and it makes the carousel an actual braking zone. If they were running the bus stop chicane, then they'd basically be flat out through carousel, but they do have to dip onto the brakes, go down a gear. Michael Broomhead with that draft off Calvin Lee. Let's see what that time works out to be for him. 1 minute 37.1, so it is an improvement, but it's not enough to overcome Hardman at this stage.
Yeah, I think he might have gotten a little bit held up by Lee in the final couple corners. He caught him maybe just a little bit too early. Here's Phil Horwitz. He's a couple seconds off right now. Let's see if he can improve as he crosses the line from a 139.2 to a 135. Or 135. 139.5 if I can get the numbers in the correct order. He'll go around for one more or two more chances. 1 minute 30 on the clock. He did cross the line in time, so I believe if this lap is fast enough, he will get a second lap after this one. Driver who hasn't set a single lap yet is Todd Curtis, down in 10th. He's tried a couple laps, but I believe he's 1x'd every single one of them. He did show up late into the session, so this might be a little bit more of a practice session than a qualifying session for Todd.
Yeah, Todd was racing earlier on in the season. He is the league admin here at FlyingHusky Racing. But yeah, in the last couple of rounds, he's not been out there on track, so obviously taking a bit of time out of the seat to take care of some other things with relation to life and running in the league. Todd Curtis, actually he does set a time there, 1 minute 47.5 to start things off, and that's not the kind of time that he would be looking for. Hans Salnave, the next quickest, and he has run a 141.3, so hopefully Todd will be able to get a faster lap in before the end of the session. This lap will be his final lap. Broomhead still not able to improve on that 137.1, so looks like at this stage pole position is Andrew Hardman's to lose.
Yeah, no help from the draft that time for Broomhead, so he's going to have to do this all on his own. Here's Nick Horvath, one of our Flying Husky drivers, and also a driver we see in the PRL F3 series. He's usually pretty darn quick over there. Let's see if he can put it on maybe the front row, maybe pole, who knows, crosses the line. Does not improve enough. He's going to stay fourth, and he won't be moving up any higher than that. Here's Gene Hawks, down at the bottom of the timesheets, 8th place. He's ahead of 2 cars. Oh, he gets a big wiggle onto the final corner of the boot section. He might improve here, we'll see. He's got to set up these last 2 corners pretty well. He might be able to jump Phil Horowitz if he can pick up 9/10 here.
Yeah, well, 9/10 is a big ask at Watkins Glen, and Hawks not quite using all of the track on the exit, so we'll see if this is an improvement for him. It is not. He's 6/10 down on his fastest lap so far, so it looks like Todd Curtis is going to be one of the final drivers here to come across the line. It's flat out through the second last turn here in these cars, so not too much of an issue for the drivers. It seems that Curtis just coming around then to set what would be a 1:46, so an improvement, but not quite enough to get close to Hans Salnave. But Joey, looks like we have a grid now for the final round of Flying Husky Racing.
Yeah, I thought Broomhead was going to finish that last lap, but no, he didn't think he was going fast enough. He must have saw his relative and was not good enough to even bother finishing the lap. But as the clock ticks down, trying to see, are there any other cars on track? I don't think so. If we can see the grid, it's Andrew Hardman on pole alongside Michael Broomhead, and then Nicholas Collender and Nick Horvath on row 2. They'll be trying to win the race, steal some of the glory from the 2 championship contenders up front. Then Calvin Lee and Tyler Gore on row 3, Phil Horowitz and Gene Hawks on row 4, and Hans Salnave and Todd Curtis going to be doing a little bit of learning in the race from the shotgun position. As we wait for the qualifying time to tick down here, we got a couple seconds until the drivers take to the grid. Reese, let's talk about some of the keys to victory here. We talked about pack racing, we talked about the draft. What's going to happen for these 2 leaders to stay in the lead after that long straight?
Well, they're going to have to concentrate on pulling a gap to the cars behind, which, judging by past form from Andrew Hardman and Michael Broomhead, shouldn't be too difficult. But they're going to have to nail the first turn, get a good run up through the flat-out S's. Otherwise, the likes of Collender and Horvath will be right there with them. So I think for the majority of the 25 minutes, it's going to be all about working with the guy next to you, trying to draft with them, because if you end up coming together through one of these high-speed corners, it'll certainly put you back, and if you run side by side through the boot section, you'll just cost each other a great deal of time. So priority number 1 for Hardman and Broomhead, get as far ahead as you possibly can and fight amongst yourselves for the title.
It's a standing start here for the final race of the Flying Husky Racing season. And we're green at Watkins Glen. Great start from Andrew Hardman. Streaks away into the lead over Michael Broomhead, but that might not be an optimal position because he's going to have quite a draft. Broomhead is in second as we go up the S's for the first time.
And it seems that Hardman and Broomhead have done exactly what I thought they would. They've broken away from everyone behind them, and have a look at Broomhead in the draft of Andrew Hardman. That slipstream seems to be worth so much. Look at the momentum Broomhead is carrying side by side with his championship rival down the back straight. He'll move across slightly to widen the turn into carousel here. First proper braking zone of the lap other than turn 1, and trying round the outside is Nicholas Collender or Nick Horvath, but that's not going to work out too well for him. He's going to retain the inside as there goes Michael Broomhead, now in the lead, and this is what he needs to do to take that title, stay in front of Andrew Hardman. With how much the draft is worth, I don't know if that's going to happen.
Yeah, first place seems to not be a great place to be. Hardman qualified on pole, but as it turns out, it was the worst place to be for the start. He couldn't really defend with the run that Broomhead had, but them two, they're streaking away at the moment. Nicholas Collender, Nick Horvath, and Tyler Gore having their own fight here for third, but I tell you what, Collender, actually Horvath, the other Nick, Horvath is pretty darn close to the back of Broomhead, so this could be a three-way battle here before we know it.
Certainly could. At the end of lap 1, Broomhead is the one that leads the way over Andrew Hardman, and only a few tenths in it between them, less than half a second the gap for the lead, 3 tenths to be exact. Let's see what Hardman can do here down the back stretch. Nails the throttle. They both use a lot of the runoff area and then the run up the hill.
Bad news for Todd Curtis enthusiasts. He didn't even survive lap 1, so the practice he had in qualifying, he's going to have to do the rest of his practice in the race after he gets that fast repair, bring it back out, learn a little bit more, but he just kind of threw it into the wall in the last corner of the boot, and throwing it to the inside, Andrew Hardman's back at it, goes to the inside of Broomhead through the carousel, easily into the lead.
Broomhead gets a slightly better exit out of the carousel on the outside for the ankle of the boot, I guess you could call it. Just backs off a little bit at the exit, and then might put a pass on Hardman down here at the toe. He's just not close enough to make it work. You can carry so much speed into that corner. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's almost a little bit banked, and Hardman really taking advantage of it. That was an excellent entry. I thought Broomhead might have clipped the grass or something with how slow he was going, but he wasn't going slow at all. Hardman was just absolutely nailing the toe of the boot. As we go through the trickiest of the corners of the boot, I would argue. Hardman getting a little bit wiggly in the rear, but nothing too harmful. Nick Horvath nowhere to be seen, so these two don't have much to worry about up here other than each other.
And I think that's exactly the way both of them want it, as, oh, man. Hardman pushing very hard through the last turn, almost clipping the wall. Broomhead will be in the draft here down the front stretch, and I'm expecting business as usual coming into the carousel, or even before that, Broomhead getting the run on Hardman. Look at how far back the slipstream already starts working up through the S's. The uphill run giving Andrew Hardman just a little bit more of a disadvantage besides.
To the outside, Broomhead goes this time. Hardman switching it up. He's not letting Broomhead get the inside. He's going to force him to go the long way around. Through the carousel, easy does it, and easily done for Broomhead. Gets by Hardman, back to the lead. I'm sure I'll say the same thing in reverse in about a minute's 30 time.
Yeah, it seems like they're just doing the old switcheroo lap after lap, which is fine for the first 24 minutes of the race, but when they get onto the final lap, my goodness, I think things are going to really ramp up in intensity. They haven't been racing each other super hard, Broomhead and Hardman. They've been giving each other a great deal of room. They know that if either of them oversteps the mark, then that's the championship over. So right now, they're just trying to stay out of each other's way as best they can until the critical point of the race.
And they got to make sure that Horvath doesn't join the party. He's been stuck about 1.7 seconds behind him this whole time. So he's not losing them, but he's not making up any ground to him either. So he kind of needs them to go side by side through some of the slower corners of the boot, I'd say, and then he might be in the fight. But as for now, he's just hanging out on his own in third. But we do have a couple more fights on the track. This is the fight for fourth. Nicholas Collender in that very shiny chrome car, fighting off Tyler Gore, another one of your PRL F3 regulars. Goes to the outside in the S is the long way around. Maybe to deliberately slow himself down to get into the draft here. I think that's what he's doing, and he's going to get to the outside here, or the inside. Collender parks it in the middle of the road, forces Tyler to pick which side he wants to go on, and easily enough, he gets by him.
Very nicely done there by Tyler Gore, and that's something that that you'd see quite often at Watkins Glen in these slower open wheel classes. Just getting off the racing line through turn 3 in the S's just slows him up a little bit, but keeps him within draft range, because we've already seen how strong the slipstream is around here. So for Collender, now the goal is to stay within a second or so of Tyler Gore, because that's where the slipstream effect is the greatest, and might be able to pass him on the back straight next lap. As it stands, that big switcheroo that we've seen Broomhead and Hardman doing seems to be the case through the rest of the field.
Unfortunately for Hardman, he's almost lost Broomhead. He's 9/10 behind him. That's dangerous. He's got some work to do. He needs to get back in the draft there.
Oh,
That Todd Curtis down there getting out of the way. Good for him. He came in to get his fast repair. He actually didn't go a lap down because he got that toe, but now he goes the lap down, gets out of the way of the leaders, and he's going to spend the rest of today just having a nice scenic drive through Watkins Glen. And, you know, in the F3 car, there's worse things you could spend your time doing. I'd say he's still going to be having a pretty good time, even though he's racing himself for 10th.
yeah, exactly. This is a nice track to drive around, you know, just by yourself. You know, when you're hot lapping out there, Broomhead doing a bit of weaving here to break the draft from Andrew Hardman, but he doesn't have to worry too much. That gap continuing to extend here for our race leader. It's now past a second. And at this point, well, Broomhead picked the right time to either pull out a magnificent lap, or Andrew Hardman made a slight mistake, which has put him out of touch with Broomhead for the draft. As we go to a replay, something's going on out here on track. That's the number 26 of Phil Horwitz. He was battling with Calvin Lee just before. What has happened to him here?
Up through the hill, Horwitz. I think he might have gotten the chrome horn here through turn 10. Lee trying to get back by him. Then... bonk!
Oh, there we go. That was odd. Did Horwitz lift a little bit out of the second last turn, or was the draft just that strong?
I don't know. I think they just kind of met in the middle, unfortunately, and Horwitz came off a lot worse from that, but it doesn't look like he really has any damage. It looks like he's fine. He just lost quite a bit of track position, and now he, too, is kind of fighting himself here. Or actually, he's got Hans Salnave for company. What do you know? He's fighting somebody for 7th. We'll see if Salnave can hang on there and maybe have a nice little race for 7th.
You saw that fastest lap from Andrew Hardman just there. He's not letting Michael Broomhead go. The gap is back down to 0.8 of a second, and he's well within slipstream range at that point. Broomhead continuing to work to try and break the draft down the straight and try and maximize his driving through this slower section of the lap. This is not over yet.
Still 16 minutes of racing to go. Let's see, let's do the math. How many laps is that? We're doing 130, so about 10 or 11 or 12 or something like that. A lot of laps, a lot of corners, and lots of places for Broomhead to maybe mess up a little bit and get Hardman back into the draft here. He's tantalizingly close. He's 0.8, 0.9 behind, and he just needs a little bit more, but he can't quite find it in the boot.
Yeah, it seems that Broomhead's very strong in this section as well. That was the car spun on the apex of the turn. That is Gene Hawkes, right at the apex as well. That's a bit of an awkward place to have an off. Let's see what happened on the replay.
I think he may have just lost it going up the hill, which is easy to do. He's going through the toe of the boot. He's looking pretty clean as we look at the live action. He has finally gotten out of the way, but we'll see what happens to him here. The final couple corners.
So, yeah, we are seeing on our end that Gene Hawkes has managed to get it going, but this is how it ended up for him. Seems that the rear end just broke free on entry to the uphill corner. And checking out Andrew Hardman here, we're going to see just how close it was for that incident. Car just stopped right at the apex. Hardman had to unwind the steering there to get past him, which cost him a little bit in his battle with Broomhead. The gap is now 1.3 seconds for the race lead.
And that's a blind corner, so that's got to be pretty scary when you're fighting for first and second, and suddenly there's a car parked sideways over the curb. And that's occasionally a curb you want to hit, I'd say. It's an interesting corner. Maybe multi-apex, maybe an unorthodox apex. It's always difficult to nail. But these two are doing it pretty darn well, even when there is no Gene Hawkes in the way.
Yeah, it's an interesting turn, this one that they're going through right now. The track levels out a bit past the point where you turn in, so it's difficult to pick the line through there, and the corner is faster than it looks. So you end up carrying a great deal of speed through there, and it's difficult to line up the throttle on the exit as well, because the track obviously levels out and you go over a bit of a seam in the road where the boot rejoins the cup layout and I guess the classic layout of the circuit. Either way, many more bumps being traversed out there for Andrew Hardman, using all of the runoff area as much as he can, but he's continuing to lose time to Broomhead here now that he's out of draft range. Broomhead, all he has to worry about is nailing his lines.
Yeah, Hardman's going to need some absolutely incredible laps to make up that gap. But we do have a fight on track. We've got Nicholas Collender and Calvin Lee. Calvin survived a little bit of contact with Phil Horwitz, didn't appear to get any damage from it, and he's taking care of Nicholas Collender here, side by side down the back straight. Collender's got a little bit more straight line speed, so maybe Calvin does have a little bit of an issue with the front wing.
Yeah, he might very well do. These cars are fixed setups, so there's nothing that the drivers can change here other than brake bias, so it's definitely something a bit wrong for Calvin Lee in terms of straight line speed. Collender stays ahead, but have a look at the run that Calvin Lee had and gives Collender maybe a little bit of front wing damage there as well on the run up to the braking zone.
Yeah, that wasn't the Pruitt fade, that was the Pruitt chop. I think he did chop a little bit of the front wing off of Nicholas Collender's car. Collender darting around all over the place, trying to scare Calvin maybe. It's going to be tough for him to do that. We'll see if he can hang on to the back of Calvin as they navigate the final corners of the track. 9, 10, 11. I hope we don't lose Collender here. I hope he can stay in the draft.
I certainly hope so too, because it's the closest battle on track at the moment between these two. The gap between Andrew Hardman and Michael Broomhead up the front is extended further. It's coming up to 1.7 seconds now. And as it stands, it looks like Lee and Collender, they're going to stay line astern for the time being. But Broomhead setting a new fastest lap of the race on that previous lap. He's completely untroubled out there in the lead, which has been the general story of this season so far.
Mastering this track here, and this will be good practice for him, because I believe in the PRL F3 series that's going to be starting up again in 2 days, we're going to the same track. So Broomhead will be there, Horvath will be there, Gore, a couple other drivers getting some pretty solid practice out here today. The full race distance, or a full 25 lap race distance. Broomhead's going to have maybe a little bit of an advantage in a couple days' time. Navigating through the final couple corners, and I tell you what, when we get to the front straight, let's ride on board with Broomhead, and maybe we'll see how he's being so dominant tonight, because he's clearly got this place figured out. Let's see if we can learn anything from riding on board with him.
Yeah, of course. Broomhead certainly a pleasure to watch, as is Andrew Hardman, but as he comes out of the final corner, here we go, a lap around Watkins Glen with currently your champion-elect.
Unfortunate time for a blink, but hopefully he gets them out of the way at this uneventful part of the track. Flat out up through the S's, and then in about a mile, I don't know how long the back straight is specifically, it's quite long, but once Broomhead gets to the end of it, that's when he'll have a little bit more of a challenge, I'd say.
Yeah, indeed. This section is one of the greatest in motorsport. Over the crest, just a little tap of the brakes and down a gear into carousel, and it's flat out from there on out all the way through. And you've got to bring it round to driver's right to line up the apex for turn 5. It's a bit later than you think it is, and you can take advantage of the camber on the exit to give you a mammoth launch. And then, I mentioned before, this turn, which you can carry so much speed into. Difficult to hook up the apex, but if you get the line right, you can carry a great deal of speed down this straight.
And then the two corners we've talked quite a bit about today. That one not so tough. The heel of the boot, not as tough as this one, but like you said, levels off. Kind of a strange blind turn in, but Broomhead's done enough laps here. He knows what he's doing. Flat out through here, and then we don't want to hit the outside wall through the final corner. Tougher to do in an F3 car than some other cars. Yeah, he's got this place figured out.
Absolutely. The gap's now over 2 seconds versus Andrew Hardman. While we were on board with him, I noticed Nicholas Colander went for a spin. Unfortunately, he's completely lost touch with Calvin Lee now, 12 seconds behind him.
The shiny car lost a little bit of its shine, unfortunately, with that spin. What's the gap up to Lee? It's 12.5 seconds. Gap back to Phil Horwitz, 15.5 seconds, so a little bit lonely for Nicholas Colander, unfortunately, but we'll see if he can do anything in the final 8 minutes. Maybe he can find a friend on track to fight with.
Yeah, we shall see. But thinking about this circuit, it's gone through so many changes over the years. The turn one that you just see Colander going through, not the original layout of this circuit. In fact, Watkins Glen's history goes back to the early 1950s when they did races on public roads around the town. This current circuit was built in the early 1960s in the interest of safety, and I've just noticed that he's caught right up to Calvin Lee again. Something has happened there to our Red Bull liveried man in the number 9. Either way, it looks like the battle is back on. And our director Joe Peak pointing out that the 90 used to be the final turn. The start-finish straight of Watkins Glen used to be the run between turn 1 and 2 now.
I'm looking at Calvin Lee's last lap because he did lose quite a bit of time to Nicholas Colander. I'm honestly wondering if he just slowed down to have someone to fight with, to have someone to keep himself amused for the final couple minutes. Because I don't think he spun. I didn't see him in the grass. I didn't see him spin anywhere. He just magically lost 12 seconds to Colander.
Yeah, so I guess, yeah, maybe an effort just to bring Colander back in range and have a bit of a race towards the final round. It is the last round of the season. These drivers don't have anything to lose. Nick Horvath is pretty safe in 3rd place in the standings at the moment, so it's not going to hurt him too much to have a nice battle with Calvin Lee, who also didn't compete in all the rounds, so he's not in contention either.
Colander was back in contention in this battle, and unfortunately it appears that he's lost Calvin again. He was kind of close to him, but how many car lengths back is that? He's 8/10 back. He's not going to be close enough unless Calvin lifts here.
Well, at the very least, Colander's going to have an inkling of a slipstream down this straight. See how close he can get by the time they get to the carousel. The gap remains at about 8/10 of a second, though, so I think Colander, with that spin, maybe picked up a little bit of damage, but would definitely have taken a bit of life out of his tires.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think Colander has drained the life out of his tires.
Righto, I just got that. Goodness me, you're on fire with the puns today, Joey. First Watkins Glen, and now this.
It's going to drain the life out of this broadcast, it seems.
Ugh.
We've got 5 minutes left. We can turn this thing around.
Yes.
Michael Broomhead he hasn't had anything to turn around because he's been up front all day. He's had nothing to make up for. He's had nothing to come back from. I guess he started second. He lost in qualifying, but it appeared that was good for him in the first place. So he's been up front since basically lap 1. He had a little bit of a fight with Hardman for 2 or 3 laps, and then suddenly he said, bye-bye, Hardman. I'm just going to streak away into the lead now. And it might be 3 seconds by the end of the race.
Yeah, so at the final hurdle, Broomhead's brought back some of his early season form. He won round 1 at a trot after some pressure from behind. But basically no pressure at all now for our championship leader. The gap was 1 point coming into this round. It will be a little bit bigger than that if things stay as they are at the finish. But Broomhead's still got to look over his shoulder and be sure not to make any mistakes here in the final 4 minutes, because if there's even a little hint of oversteer or one spin, then Andrew Hardman's going to be ahead, and that's the title lost. So that's what's on Michael Broomhead's mind right now, I guess.
Yeah, that would be rather embarrassing to throw it away in the final 3 minutes of the race. You got it under control. You got no reason to push too hard, but it happens, and happens to the best of them. It happens to the worst of them, but he's going to be desperately hoping that that's not going to happen to him, and he's a pro. I don't think he's going to lose focus or get ahead of himself. He knows what he's doing. He's won quite a few races before in this league and other leagues. 3 minutes to go, about 3 more laps around Watkins Glen. Easy does it, and he'll be the champion.
Well, Calvin Lee and Nicholas Colander still battling. It's 4 tenths between them now for 5th and 6th. And looks like Colander, he's set a pretty good lap time that time round. Took 5 tenths out of Calvin Lee on that last lap, so this is undoubtedly going to be a move down the straight. Colander has to back out of it. There's no room either side if you're going through turn 3 like that, and Calvin Lee sticks to the inside, but the momentum is with Nicholas Colander, and he makes his way past. Let's see if Calvin Lee can come back at him in the last couple of laps.
I think both of these guys might have a little bit of front wing damage, because we saw Calvin get into Phil Horwitz, and Nicholas Colander got chopped off by Calvin. Might have got a little bit of a clip on his front wing, but it looks fine from my view here. I don't see much on Colander's car, so he might be okay. He's gotten by Calvin Lee, but remember, Calvin Lee was the one who was in front of these two, but to the tune of about 12.5 seconds, so this overtake might not be too difficult for him, but we'll see. We'll see. Maybe Colander can pull something out of his hat here.
Yeah, for sure. We shall see. It's 2 to go for our race leader, meanwhile, as Colander dives it very deep into the 3rd last turn here at Watkins Glen. It's going to be a rollicking battle between these two for the last position in the top 5 on the final couple of laps. As, oh my goodness, Lee searching for a way past, but the understeer through the final turn, a little bit of aero disturbance, and his entry was compromised too. Gonna have to work harder here down the back straight if he wants to get the pass done again.
Gap as they go through turn 1, about 4.5 tenths. I think he will be close enough here. He's on the precipice of losing Colander, but not quite. We'll see if he can make up for maybe a little bit of front wing damage he has. He's got a straight line speed disadvantage, but the draft is just that powerful. You can see him just coming closer and closer and closer. Colander tries to break the draft, and it kind of works. Calvin Lee can't really do anything with no draft.
Can he over-under it through the turn, though? Not quite. Again, once he's up behind Colander's rear wing and diffuser, a little bit of downforce is lost, so especially with the front wing damage he's already dealing with, Lee just can't get it done. He's going to have to wait for one of the braking zones around here, maybe line up a pass on the back straight on the final lap. Speaking of the final lap, Michael Broomhead has just begun it.
Yep, white flag in the air for Michael Broomhead. It's almost a victory lap for him. He's got 2 seconds back to Hardman. Doesn't have to push too hard. Just bring it around nice and easy. Got 2 seconds to spare. He's got 1 car in front of him. I believe that's Todd Curtis. No, that's Gene Hawks. It's one of our other misfortunate drivers of today. I don't know. The pace difference between Broomhead and Hawks has been about 5 seconds. The gap between them on track, Hawks is going to let him by either way. Even if he does make it up, which he is right now, yeah, Hawks gets out of the way. Nice and easy.
Nice and easy indeed, and I don't suspect he'll be much of a problem for Andrew Hardman either. But Hardman would have been hoping that there was a little bit more blocking for Broomhead there. Final check-in with our 5th place battle. Nicholas Colander having to defend from Calvin Lee. The draft is with the number 9. Does he get it done at the carousel this time? You know, with that front wing damage and the lack of straight line speed, he just can't get alongside in time. He gets alongside on the outside of carousel, but Colander with the advantage still. This is going to be a tough drive for them, but Broomhead's only got 1 corner to go now, and he's the champion.
Yep, 1 more corner to go. The Flying Huskies, we've run 11 rounds. Broomhead's won quite a few of them, and he's going to add 1 more to his total. Michael Broomhead wins the race at Watkins Glen, and he spins it across the line, and by our calculations, he will be the Flying Husky Racing Points Championship winner over Andrew Hardman. This battle here for 4th isn't over, 5th isn't over. Calvin Lee, can he do anything in the final 2 corners? Can Collender keep it together? Looks like it's going to be pretty easy going for Nicholas Collender. 2 corners to go. He's got a pretty safe gap back to Calvin Lee. And it'll be 5th place for Nicholas Collender, and a pretty easy 3rd place in the championship for him as well. So we got to give him credit for that.
Absolutely, we do. The weave is on down the start-finish stretch, and there it is. Nicholas Collender over Calvin Lee, completing the top 5. Phil Horwitz and Hans Salnave are still out there completing their final laps. Phil just coming out of the final corner now, and Hans Salnave at the toe of the boot. But once those guys cross the line, that's going to be officially the season done for Flying Husky Racing Season 3.
Yeah, there's some drivers doing donuts already in turn 1. We'll see if is Phil Horwitz going to join them. No, unfortunately. Or maybe he is. He's slowing down. Come on, Phil. Give us some donuts. Don't just park it in the grass. Is he? Oh, he's using the grass to help him. Oh, what a guy. What a guy.
Nice. Probably not as much smoke, but definitely easier to do a couple of spins around. And Mr. Salnave through the final corner and completing the race. So now, Joey, I reckon it's time to take our break and wrap things up for the season.
You read my mind. We're going to go away for a few minutes, but we hope you don't go away. Stay right where you are, and we'll be back in a couple minutes to talk to our champion and our top 3 from the race tonight. And we've just finished up here another Flying Husky Racing season and another Flying Husky race at Watkins Glen. Let's take a look at our race results. Michael Broomhead brings it home. Dominant win from him. Andrew Hardman brings it home in 2nd. Nick Horvath rounds out the podium. A pretty silent race from him. And Tyler Gore was 4th. Nicholas Collender down in 5th after a battle with Calvin Lee in 6th. Phil Horwitz got put around in 7th. Hans Salnave, a little bit of a lonesome race in 8th, and Gene Hawks and Todd Curtis all ran into a little bit of trouble respectively. But a driver who was just trouble-free out front, by our calculations, the champion, Michael Broomhead. Congratulations on your win tonight, and seemed like you were pretty darn dominant out here. Are you a big fan of Watkins Glen? Is this one of your favorites, or are you just good here?
It's moderately local. I've been there. I didn't drive it, but yeah, no, it's a good one. Hey, Joey, by the way, we'll see you in PRL, I think, on Thursday. But yeah, it was a good one. Andrew pushed me the whole way, so I couldn't really make a mistake, and thankfully I didn't.
You are right. We will see you in PRL on Thursday, and I'm kind of unhappy about that because you got a gosh darn race distance under your belt now. You got an advantage.
You know what? We started getting into Flying Husky when PRL was looking at getting into F3 cars, so we thought we'd get some practice in. Little did we know we'd have such a great time here. Flying Husky and the boys here are such a good group to race with. You know, we always talk about the fact that it's, you know, camaraderie and about friendship and enjoying ourselves. You know, we may not always be the fastest people, we may not always have the cleanest races or the most numbers, but we have a good time doing it.
Now, the main story of the race, I guess, is you and Hardman were battling pretty hard, the two championship contenders, in the first couple laps, and then you just lost him. How did that happen? How did you lose, or how did he lose the draft from you on a track where you could pretty much keep in the draft if you're within 7/10 of a second? How'd you pull away?
Yeah, it was very narrow margins. I knew Andrew had something for me the whole way. He's been fast all season. We finally got a good close race between us. So yeah, it was just about getting a little bit of a gap. But I think there was a little bit of help. We passed Todd. I think Andrew lost a little bit there, maybe a tenth even. Like it wasn't a lot. And then getting past Gene. Oh, was it Hans? I can't remember who it was. But there was another car we had to get past. And he lost it a little bit more. Oh yeah, it was Gene on the curb. I think he lost a bit there. So I was able to just get that gap and then be outside the draft the whole way. But yeah, he pushed me the whole way.
All right. Well, congrats on your win tonight, and congrats on your championship as well in this series. You have anyone you need to thank in your final race of the season?
Thanks. Yeah, it's well, the Britannia boys, everybody here at Flying Husky as well. You know, we have fun, we play hard, you know, work hard to get these cars around this track. And yeah, the sponsors, Mountain Range Marketing, lisaslight.com, and my family, Mimi, and of course you guys. This is the last time we'll be on your broadcast, so thank you so much for all the coverage that you've given us, and we hope to see you again sometime in the future.
Yep, and thanks for putting on a show for us tonight. That was your winner, Michael Broomhead. And the one who was giving him the most challenge, making it a hard time, was Andrew Hardman, and he's with Reese.
He is indeed. Welcome, Andrew. Well, second on the road, second in the championship. It was a great season from you. You can certainly take away a lot of positives from that.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it was my first full season with Flying Husky and my first full season of league racing in general. So was really good. I was able to get some wins and make it go down to the wire. And I think the race that I had with Mike this time was one of the best races I've had in iRacing. I think I drove about as good as I've ever driven. So coming up second in that case is not something to be sad about. I'm really happy with how I drove.
As you should be. And talking about that battle with Michael Broomhead, you gave each other quite a hard time in the opening laps, doing the old switcheroo lap after lap. But then the gap extended. What happened there from your perspective, losing touch with the draft?
You know what? I think that Mike probably had, I'd say maybe half a tenth on me. Like it's just enough to eke away. We were both pushing really, really hard, and he wasn't making any mistakes. So yeah, hats off to him on basically a perfect race.
And how do you find Watkins Glen in these cars? It's usually a place where we see sports cars and NASCAR as well. IndyCar has raced here in the past as well, but these Dallara Formula 3s, they're a bit slow for this track, but that's not taking anything away from it. They still provide great racing.
Yeah. No, I think it's an interesting track where it's a lot about momentum. You really gotta maximize the corner exits. Make sure that you can keep the speed up on the long straights, because as soon as you drop a kilometer an hour out of the corner, it's 5 by the end of the straight. So yeah, I thought it was an interesting challenge for sure with the types of cars we're driving, and I hope it stays on the calendar next year.
Yeah, certainly. Well, either way, the end of the season, and there's an awful lot of positives that you can take into the future here at Flying Husky Racing. Before we let you go, Andrew, anyone that you'd like to thank for your P2 on the road and in the standings?
Well, yeah, the Britannia crew for having me on, inviting me to take part in the series. Mike, of course, being the person that's heading that. So thank you to him. Thank you to my parents for helping me along with my sim racing as of right now, and also you guys. You guys have put on a great show for us, made it awesome to rewatch and send to friends and have people watch online. So thank you so much for that.
That's Andrew Hardman there, the number 11 in P2. And next up, Looks like, Joey, you stood by with Nick Horvath, who took a great top 5 finish.
A top 3 finish at that, and unfortunately, it looked like it was a little bit of a lonely one out there, Nick. You did bring it home in 3rd place, but what was it like out there? Seemed like you were kind of lonely.
It was a little bit lonely. It was mostly just trying to keep up and keep Tyler at bay. I saw him make a couple charges, but once I got by Colander, who ran a really good race, it just seemed to be all alone. There's no real chance of me being able to catch Mike or Andrew. They were both running absolutely flawless races. It was really, really fun to at least watch that while I could still see it. But I had a good time. I got my top 3. I was kind of gunning for, so I can't be mad at that.
Yeah, and it's hard to be mad when you're driving around Watkins Glen. It seems like from what we've heard from the other 2 that finished on the podium, it's a pretty popular track. How do you feel about this place, and is it one of the best places you could possibly drive around lonely for 25 minutes?
It's pretty interesting, that's for sure. It definitely keeps you awake. The fact that it's mostly full speed and it's mostly about just carrying momentum, trying not to make a mistake. The curbs kind of make it a little bit scary, but I mean, it's probably one of my top 3 tracks. I really can't complain.
Yeah, top 3 tracks for top 3 finisher. We've finished out the season. I don't believe, or I don't know where you are in the point standings over the course of the season, but I'm sure you were up there. You've had a couple good results. How has this league helped you? It's extra track time. You got a couple people to race with. How has this helped you over the course of the last 11 weeks?
I've been having a bit of a miserable season, mostly just because of internet issues, moving, just haven't really been able to keep up with it. But for what it is, it's a good league to develop skills. It's awesome to be able to have a little bit of something to get together with the team and everyone at Flying Husky and just sort of work on each other's lines, help everyone sort of improve. Like, we've really closed up the field, especially since the start of the season, from what I've seen. Like, I don't think we've really ever been that close before. And I mean, even just being alone, I had to kind of watch the relatives a little bit. Otherwise, I think I probably would have let Tyler catch me. But it's a lot of fun. I mean, I definitely enjoy it. We could really, just the amount of talent that we have there is just something special.
All right, well, congrats on your 3rd place finish. You have anyone else to thank before we get you out of here?
Big thank you to the guys back at Vitiated Mob for supporting me. Thank you to everyone else on Britannia. It's always fun racing with them. They're such a good group of guys. Mike and Andrew, congrats on your 1st and 2nd. Definitely deserved. A lot of fun to watch. Just wish I could have gave you more of a challenge.
All right, and I will see you on Thursday, sir. We're gonna be battling to the death. You've got an advantage, and see if you can do anything with it.
Looking forward to it.
Yep. 3rd place finisher, Nick Horvath. And guess what? We've got one more for you. We've got Todd Curtis. He was kind of in the wars today. He was struggling a bit, but he was the one who made this all happen, and Reese is with him down there.
Well, Todd, the conclusion of another season of Flying Husky Racing, and it looks like it was a success.
Oh, thanks. I kind of felt like Danny Rick out there tonight. You know, I never left. We all have a lot of fun doing this stuff, and it's really cool to see the culmination of the season. Everybody, as you heard everybody say, you know, getting better, improving together. You know, this is something we've really created that's worthwhile, and it's a stellar group of drivers and people too.
Yeah, for sure. And we saw some great performances throughout the season, particularly from Michael and Andrew up at the front. It just goes to show that, you know, there's a lot to be learned from drivers like that.
It's true. You know, I think most of us here are sort of the mindset that we always like to play on the hardest setting. And it's just better and it's more rewarding to be out there with people who are stronger than you, better at you, have things that they can contribute that are just different than what you bring, you know. And so we all benefit from that. And we spend a couple hours a week together doing this. And I think, you know, we've all benefited from that and enjoyed our time.
And in terms of the best round of the season from your perspective, you were looking in from an outside perspective for a few races this season. For me, it was Mosport, and certainly we got some great racing there. What was your favourite round of the season?
Yeah, I was going to say most sport. That was a killer race. I mean, just from being a spectator, which is a little different experience for me, but instead of watching from the back, I was watching from the outside, and it was really great viewing. I have to say, the program overall looked good. The racing was good, and the competition was good. So it makes for a compelling thing to watch, and we're excited about where we're going to take this journey next.
Certainly, as you should be. Well, final questions, I guess, for you, Todd. Give you a chance to give a shout out and a thanks to whoever you deem necessary. And are track days the best days?
Well, we like to say so, but I think it's more than necessary. I think it's well deserved. Just to say thanks to everybody. We really enjoyed our time here. I'd like to say special thanks to Mike and the Britannia group, Britannia iSports. It really brought a lot of energy and enthusiasm and excitement to the league. We've met some awesome people this way, even people in our own backyard who we wouldn't have known otherwise. And I think I have to say special thanks to Nancy, my wife, who supports me even when I finish in P10 and I come back and I'm so happened. And there's an enthusiastic group. There might not be a lot of us, but there's people who are keen to watch this thing happen every single week. And so we have to keep a show going for them. We're going to do that. And we'll see where we take this next. And then lastly, I just want to say shouts out to Norsled, of course. They give us a lot, and we try to make sure that people know what they're about. They're an amazing cause. They do incredible work. We're really fortunate for what they do and the benefit that they provide to Huskies and all kinds of animals. So if you get a chance, check them out, norsled.org. We're all here in support of them, and say thanks to all of you for watching.
That's Todd Curtis there, the league administrator of Flying Husky Racing. Wishing you all the best on your future journeys, guys. It was a pleasure to bring you the action this season.
Indeed it was, and we finished it off. It was the final race of the season. A little bit spread out. We kind of saw the cream rise to the top with Michael Broomhead, but I'd say the thing that really rung across all the answers from the drivers we talked to is they really valued this league for the track time and I guess the friends they made along the way.
Yeah, exactly right. It's a nice core group of guys here at Flying Husky, and as you said, the cream rose to the top. Michael Broomhead and Andrew Hardman joining each other and pushing each other very hard over the course of the season.
And of course, the season would not have been possible without Norsled and Flying Husky Racing. Norsled, save a Husky. For more information, contact Todd Curtis through email at todd@flyinghusky.racing and find out more on the web about Flying Husky Racing at flyinghusky.racing. Flying Husky Racing. As Todd said, track days are the best days. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast. They're listed here on your screen. And additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. You can find more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media listed on the screen. Also, please check out our merchandise store at simracingmerch.com/GSRC. We keep a link in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well while you're down there so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. This was the season finale, so we won't be seeing the Flying Huskies again next week, but we do have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. I'd like to thank the whole team who helped put on this broadcast today, and thank you for tuning in. So, for Reese Gardner, Joe Peak, and Dougie Beard, I'm Joey Tebben. Until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.